Well, good afternoon, and in contrary to how Christian Jopke opened his speech that he's happy to be here, I'm unhappy to be here, but because I'm not familiar with the concept of public space, but I think I can continue where Christian finished, and I also take my examples from the exclusion or inclusion of Muslim people here in Germany. I'm not very happy because this open space or public space concept is something which is not so much fitting to what I'm going to say. I'm recommending that what I see from my experience, that new public spaces are evolving because this new group of people, this new religion is not integrated into the already existing public space. So, but every society needs this kind of public space, and it would be a good thing that we include these new public spaces in order to modernize our society. My contention is therefore that the public space for immigrants, mainly for Muslim immigrants, is in contradiction to the attribute as a to public. It's for a long time a closed space for the newcomers, and still will be. And the main reason for this is that we have segregated labor markets, we have segregated housing in some way, and we have segregated schooling. For example, that 50 to 60% of the migrant children are visiting Hauptschule, where hardly any Germans are to be found. So new public spaces for these people are evolving. And these are intentional and not intended consequences of the migration and of the integration process. The unintended consequences is that for a long time you have these segregated labor markets due to German work permit policy, but also to the low qualifications of many of our migrants. But there's always also intended exclusion, namely an intended resistance to include migrants as part of the general public space. Take, for example, the simple question of opinion polls. There's only one polling, namely the social economic panel, in which migrants are included as migrants. But normally, when you have opinion polls in Germany done, only the Germans are asked. Now we have, of course, nearly 2 million who have already the German citizenship, including the ethnic Germans who came here, but normally migrants, nobody cares about them. They are simply not included. And the results of public surveys is very important to develop further policies. So why not include them? It's difficult, and one does not know the migrants or the Turkish migrant and so on. But this is something which is vacant. Of course, they are included as long as, or as far as they have taken the German citizenship. And there is a specific group to what Christian referred to, namely the Muslim population. It is said we have 2.7 or 3.7 million of them. Only 20% of them are practicing their religion, and they are deliberately left out of public spaces. Especially those who confess publicly their belief and to show it. You can always read in newspapers that there is a lot of resistance to build mosque, to build representative mosque. Everywhere in Germany, the last example is Köln, where we had this finally happy development that they protected them against, the city protected them against right-wing propaganda. But normally these demands to have a representative mosque is turned down. This happened in Berlin just recently in the region of Charlottenburg. And I think that a representative mosque would be an ideal public space to have interaction with these newcomers and with this new religion, because the demand in Charlottenburg was from a young Muslim group called Insan, that they have their sermons in German, that they have a meeting structure there, and that they have an information center. So what could happen, what would be a happier situation than this kind of arrangement where everybody could go and get some information, and not only on the 3rd of October when we have the open day of the mosque, but every day. And an even harsher exclusion is found when it comes to Muslim women who wear headscarves. They are not only denied jobs in the public service sector by law. We have in Berlin the neutrality law. We have in other countries, other states of Germany, laws which prohibit to be a teacher or a public servant. But exactly these kind of laws have spilled over to the private sector. So you cannot become, even if it is possible by law, a nursery school teacher here in Berlin or in any other part of Germany if you wear a headscarf. You cannot become a helping hand in tailoring because the one who runs the business will say, well, my customers don't like you sitting here like with a headscarf. And even we had a case recently in Berlin where medical treatment in a private medical practice was denied to a woman because she wore a headscarf. It was said, I don't care for people who are wearing headscarves. So this is all documented in this new brochure, Außen vor, which appeared recently here in Berlin. So public space is denied to those people, and I think that the job market is an important public space where you can identify your interest and where you can bargain for services like qualification and education. More young people, we just had a recent poll done by the Bertelsmann Stiftung about how religious are Muslims in Germany. You probably read about it the last weekend. And the result was that especially the age group between 19 and 29 are highly religious. You can find the identifications, what it means to be highly religious. They are more religious than their parents and their grandparents, so 43%. And these young people, most of them are born in Germany, they demonstrate a higher degree of religious practice. They wear headscarf, you can see them in our city everywhere. They participate in Friday prayers, they express being Muslims. And as soon as this appeared, you probably remember the public debate in schools and among intellectuals. The phrase was coined, as soon as we noticed this high religious devotion, they are back to Islam and away from integration. So we can close our public space. What is not taken seriously and what nobody notices, you can only notice it if you are in contact with the young generation, is that something, I think, sensational is developing in this young Muslim community. They are giving up deliberately their traditional cultural roots. It's no longer meaningful for them to be together with their language group or with their cultural group, to be together with a Turkish or Arabic group. It's no longer important that they obey the dress code sometimes and the gender relationship, but for many the religious group is far more important, so they don't mind to come together with a German Muslim or with a non-German Muslim. So culture is losing their importance for them. But what happens to people, to a religiously devoted people who lose their cultural roots? I think that people need cultural roots. They have to be a part of the wider community in which they live. When they lose it, then religious beliefs, there is a danger that they become very orthodox and that the conviction is in danger to fossilize, not to develop in the new culture where they are. So what I think that we should much more address not only the functionaries, the people of the big Muslim organizations which are addressed now in the Islam conference which is run by the administration of Minister Schäuble, but we should much more look at the young Muslims. They should be addressed and included into our structures. And their religious conviction should not be used as a wedge as it is done now, but it should be used as an entrance to our society. And I will come to some conclusions. We can admit that there are new public spaces evolving, and in a pluralistic society, why shouldn't there be several public spaces? But we should consider them to be a part of the broader public space, or we can open and widen the existing public space where we discuss and where we include these people. So open up for this new religion. I think that is a strategy to achieve the following, namely modernizing our democracy to match it with a new social reality, because having Muslims, Muslim beliefs, Muslim structures in our city, in our country is a new social reality, and we don't match it yet with the way we behave. The second conclusion is we can only build a common commitment with this new small society, which we need to be confident and have a commitment on non-negotiable values, which we need, namely to have no violence, to be tolerant, and the likes of it. And the third conclusion is only if we integrate these religious groups, we can abandon the myth with which we are still living that Germany is culturally and religiously still a homogeneous society, which we are no longer. And we can abandon the myth that only by being or by having cultural homogeneity we can guarantee social cohesion. So, the widening of our public space, whatever this means in concrete, needs to take in this new religious group. Thank you very much.